Parshas Bechukosai this week is both the Parsha Bahar and Bechukosai. And pasuk explaining one of the curses that we have at the end of this week's Parsha. So bring up the copy here. Okay. So one of the curses we have, and that it talks about, of so to say, the dire, difficult situation that the Jewish people possibly are going to experience as part of a way of God admonishing us, which is what the curses are, the way we see it in an outward way. So the pasuk says like this: Beshivri, from the word shov, to break, lechem mate lechem, va'afu eser nashim lachemchem b'taner echad, v'heshivu lachemchem b'mishkal. So the literal translation of so to say, the curses is B'shivri lechem mate lechem. God's going to break your support. Mate is a staff, that like a staff supports a person. So there's your support for bread. A person's going to have no support. The support that you have for substance, for food to eat for yourself, is going to be broken. So you're not going to have the reliability that you had for your substance. And it's going to be so dire that 10 women are going to have to cook bread in a single oven, which is an expression, which is a sign of how difficult things are going to be, that they're going to have to bake bread in a single oven. And the bread is going to, Rashi explains it, that the bread is going to fall apart after it comes out of the oven, to the extent that the only way to divide the bread is going to be to divide the weight. It's going to be crumbled. So when something's crumbled, you can't say this loaf of bread belongs to me, or this loaf of bread belongs to me. So it's just going to be, they're going to have to say, okay, that we have a pound of bread, everyone takes a few ounces, because we have no way of knowing whose bread is what. So this is an expression of how difficult things could get, Hashem is saying in the curses. So this is the negative. So there's going to be, one is lack of the support. The staff of support for your bread is going to be broken. The way to make the bread is going to be difficult. 10 women cooking in a single oven, baking in a single oven. And even when you take the bread out, it's going to fall apart, that you're not going to be able to identify what's yours. Okay. Is in Yidua, it's known, though seemingly to the eye, is divrei hatechachas elu klalos. This admonishment is words of curses. God is cursing the Jewish people in the event that they don't keep the Torah and the mitzvahs. But in truth, the Rebbe says, this itself is blessings. To understand the blessing in this curse, al derech ma she'amar b'Zohar, based on what it says in the Zohar. So again, the curse itself, seemingly in the just to go over in the outwardly understanding of the verses, the curse that your support for food, the way you make the food, and afterwards when you have the food, is all going to be cursed. You're going to lose your support for the food. You're going to have to bake it in a single oven. It's going to fall apart. You're going to only be able to identify it by its weight. Each person's going to have to take the division of the weight, but there's going to be nothing that really belongs to you. But the Rebbe says that in the curse itself, that in these psukim, in these verses, they're really blessings. We have to find it. So the Rebbe says, based on the Zohar, that says, Klas darga miskasher and davida. There's 3 levels that connect, miskasher with the word kesher, that connect to each other. Kuchabrichu, Hashem, God, the Holy One, blessed be He. Iraisa, the Torah of Israel and the Jewish people. That Hashem, the Kuchabrichu, the Holy One, blessed be He, the Torah and the Jewish people are all connected in one. Kulun darga al darga sasim v'galia, and they connect both sasim, both in the hidden way and in the revealed way. Means both the way things are in a hidden way, which sometimes a person only projects outwardly, and therefore the way they could connect is only in an outward connection. What's going on inside me has nothing to do. There's no way to connect that to something, especially not to something else that's being hidden. I'm only going to project with my chitzonis, my outwardly, and that we could connect with a single idea, with a single interest, with a single agenda. But that's not the way it works with the Jewish people, Torah and Hashem. That they're both connected, sasim in the hidden and in the galia and the revealed. And he explains, Ubir Inyan, Bechina sasim. What does it mean, the hidden connection of the Jewish people, the Torah and Hashem? The idea of sasim means that what's not nearer it can't be seen. Not only what can't be seen, it can't be understood. And it can't enclose itself in space. Again, things are divided into space and time, and that's part of creation. Tzimtzum is so deep in hiddenness that it can't even be revealed in any kind of makom, in any kind of space.
What is the source or the reference to Acharei for this?
Acharei meaning?
It says it's Parsha Acharei, Daf Ein Gimel Amud Aleph.
You're looking in the wrong. You're looking in the wrong. I posted the wrong. You're looking at the wrong. How did you get the content?
No, I'm following along. It's in your email. I'm using the one you sent.
The PDF?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you're looking at the wrong email. The email.
No, I'm following along. They're in parentheses is the source for the hidden and the revealed that Acharei.
I see what you're saying. I didn't see that. No, it's just that's just something that he explained in the parsha. Something that in the Hasidic discourse in Parshas Acharei, he talked about this idea of hidden and revealed. Not something we've learned last week. It's nothing. It's just nothing. It's maybe specifically connected to Acharei, but an idea that he spoke about last week. Okay. So kikula darga al darga sasim v'gal. Everything is there's hidden and revealed. Okay. So what is the hidden? It's hidden that's not can't even go into space. V'nikr stima the stima. It's hidden of all hiddenness. Pirush. What does that mean? Afilu min hastima hu sasim v'nal. There's a concept of haster of double hiddenness. That there's even from something that's hidden, it's hidden. It's so hidden that this means there's hidden. Like for instance, you have machshava, you have thoughts that a person thinks before they speak. So that's hidden. You didn't say it, and even when you say it, you don't say exactly all the things you're thinking, but it's going to be revealed in some way from your thoughts. Then you have hidden thoughts that have nothing to do with it's hidden from even the thoughts that you're thinking about communicating. So pishafilu mina stima hu sasim v'nelam. Even from hiddenness, it's hidden. The less machshava d'lahain tfisa beklal. This level of hiddenness within Hashem in creation that there is no thought that could grasp that. So that's how deep hiddenness could be. So there's that level we're going to realize basically what Alter Rebbe is getting in, that there's the connection goes so deep as a way of connecting all the way from the most hidden levels of Hashem, which is even can't be grasped. Like he says, it's not seen or understood. And that is in all the levels of both Hashem, the Jewish people, and Torah. And then what's the revealed? Is what we see in front of us, the physical world. For instance, the space. And you have also the Baal Shishak Savas that's made up of 6 sides, northeast, south, and west, the top and bottom. Which is the top and bottom and the 4 sides of the world. So there's space, and that's what's revealed to us. So the Rebbe says you cannot say. Seemingly, a person may think and say, "What's physical can't be spiritual. It's physical. I see it. This is a tree. This is something." Who came? But the truth is, it is like that. Even the gilui, even what's revealed is godliness. Why? There is nothing that exists outside of Hashem. So if it exists, it has to be ruchnius as well. It's just the way ruchnius is revealed in a way of space and something. God's kingship rules on everything. And anything we see in the world that seems to us to be as a creation, that's something that's real, whether it's daimim, whether it's something that's lifeless, like stone, sameach, something that grows, chai, animals, or things that are alive, medaber, something that speaks, a person, shabaylim is in this physical world. There's a spiritual life that gives life to everything that's physical. It wouldn't exist. It wouldn't be in this world. Never mind, you wouldn't see it if it didn't have a spiritual existence, that a spiritual chayis, vitality that gave its specific character life. And that life that gives life, the chayis, the vitality of every individual thing, is also called space. It's the spiritual space. So he's saying when you can't say on spirituality space, it's not true, because the very fact that you see something in the world, let's say a stone that looks a certain way and weighs a certain amount of weight and takes up a certain amount of space, that means it has a chayis in all those definitions. And so that means the chayis itself has space. The chayis is not infinite. The chayis itself has makom. God owns space, and when he creates, there's the spiritual space that gives life to what seems like the physical space. There's also space above. That's what God tells Moshe. Space also belongs to God. What does it mean, space in the spiritual sense? The spiritual life force of everything that exists in this world is space. And that's what's called revealed. So what he's referring as revealed is not just the actual stone, but the chayis that gives life, the life force that gives life and existence to the stone is also revealed space. Because the very fact that it's physical, has a physical revelation, means it also has a spiritual revelation. Otherwise, we wouldn't, means that what the Alter Rebbe is saying is the physicality is only the conclusion of the spiritual space. And that spiritual space is nullified to its higher source of existence. But what's beyond that space? For instance, where do we have this, say, these three stages? It would be, for instance, in the process of speech. So the thoughts of speech are, and obviously in thoughts themselves there's many levels, but the thought, and just break it into three, you have the thoughts that help a person communicate the words, and you have the seichel, which is the intellect, which is what the thoughts are. It means any being can think, whether you're a child, a young child, an old person, etc. Everyone can think. But based on how developed and revealed your seichel is, your intellect is how much substance and what the content of those thoughts are going to be. So the word, even the letters and words of your thoughts are nullified to the seichel, to the intellect. And there's no, and that the seichel is very distant from the letters. And that's why the letters only have a ray of that seichel, and therefore it's able to limit it. This is what we say, blesses the space. Or we refer to that as blessing Hashem, who's called Makim. The word baruch means to bring down. That's the idea of bracha. Bracha means when you say bracha, I bless you. What does it mean to bless someone? You're blessing, and you're blessing God. You're bringing down an energy. So the idea of baruch makim is to bring a blessing that there should be space, from beyond space into space. Like we say in the bracha, we're talking about when we're saying the blessing of Baruch Aleinu, we're saying to give blessing in its right seasons, etc. Means we bring a blessing from beyond the seasons into the seasons. The hamshich min al from above time into time. V'zeu baruch Hashem min ha'olam to bring from one world, from one existence to another existence. And he explains a little bit further in the parentheses. Inim makim ruchin yesh leimer dahainu vav tzavas al yenis shem shesh vav tzavas kashmim. The six sides of above, below, northeast, etc. Tzaf and Darim, north and south. Shezehu bechinas hamakim. It comes from the spiritual space. Bechinas bar makam acher al pasuk ve'er al Avram. It's explained in another Hasidic discourse. Appears ve'inyan shehu echad b'shiva rikim ve'aretz v'dal druchasayim l'dia. That we say God is part of the seven skies and the four sides of the earth. Okay, let's skip down past the parentheses. Vihine. So there's the idea of space that we said within godliness, and there's the idea of sasim revealed and gali, and there's gali revealed and sasim and hidden. Now the Rebbe says, so just like in the world, there's what's beyond makoim, and even with even the spiritual makoim, which is the spiritual specific chayis for every existence in the world, is also called makoim, and that is baruch min olam v'adaylam. You have to bring from beyond space into space in spirituality itself. So v'hine also the same thing applies to Torah. Ayraisa gamkin sasim v'galia. Torah also has what's hidden and what's revealed. Pirsh inyan haklal seila, and here we see it in these, for instance, in these curses. Again, what did we say? And we're going to have to figure out how to align the curses, not just to say that one idea seems, is saying this message, and when the revealed idea is saying this message, you're going to have no reliance for food. You're going to cook out of a single oven, 10 women. The bread is going to come out crumbly, like Rashi says, and then there's going to be a spiritual idea. We're going to have to the ideas are going to have to be aligned within space and out of space, within hiddenness and outside of hiddenness, and revealed. So he says, the Torah also has what's called hidden and revealed. Pirish K'inyan, like it says, Pirish K'inyan like these curses. When a person listens to the curses, reads the Torah, this Shabbos in the Shul, so it's going to say, Bechinas Gali, what's revealed. Also, it's not talking about the Jewish people. Like it says afterwards in Nitzavim when it talks about the curses. It says, God doesn't want to bring these curses onto us. He says, let all these curses go onto your enemies. Who's it's Eila. When it says these, the word Eila is connected to the plural, and that's the world of Esav, which doesn't have the singular Hashem Echad. Lachin Rabim, Tur de Pruda, the separate, all different kinds of mountains. Kumashkas of Nafshes Esav, the souls, plural of Esav. And by Yaakov it says Nefesh, singular, one. So Esav is the world of separation and multiple. God says these curses should befall Esav, the world of Eila, your enemies. But you, hopefully, God says that you shouldn't be connected to the curses. Why? Because Shemata b'koil Hashem, you should listen to the voice of Hashem. Because what's internal is hidden. To take from the hiddenness and to reveal. That's the blessings and the curses. Let me explain what that means in a second. I just want to see. He referred to okay, so the separate mountains. Okay, this is an idea that we've learned before. The word bikoil is translated in the voice, bikoil Hashem. So seemingly, when it says va'ata tashuv, you should return v'shamat bikoil Hashem, listen to what Hashem is telling you. It means listen to the Torah. But the Alter Rebbe explains many times the word bikoil also, if you focus on the actual word bikoil, means what's in the voice. Pay attention what's in the voice, what's really being said, not what you just hear outwardly. That's what he's saying. The idea is listen what's really deeply hidden in the voice. There's something internally that's hidden there that you have to pay attention to. Outwardly, it sounds like a curse, but if you listen closely, you're going to hear the hidden blessing in there. And that's what he says. This is what it means to bring from the hiddenness into reveal, that it's not just what it seems to the so to say to the common ear, that the God is saying a curse, that you're going to have nothing to rely on physical material. There's a hidden actual blessing here. That's bikol ve'im bechinas habrachas shebeklalis. If you pay attention what's inside, what's really being said, you're going to hear and you're going to listen to, and you're going to pay attention. And not only is it not a curse, there's a blessing here. So he says, so we're basically what the Alter Rebbe is explaining, what Hashem is saying in Nitzavim, that these curses should befall your enemies. But after you listen to the voice, means the words are the same to both of you. But if you're just going to hear what you without paying attention, what's really being said, so you hear curses. But if you pay attention, and the Jewish people who are connected internally with Hashem, don't just listen to the chitzonis of what's projected outwardly, what's being expressed outwardly. You could listen to Bikoil, what's really inside over there. You're going to hear a blessing over here. You're not going to hear a curse. He says, "V'hini brachas elu hu al derech mashakasu gemara." It's connected to last week, Lag Bomer, Friday. The story about Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and his son Rebbe Lazar. He asked him to get a blessing. V'hini brachas elu hu al derech mashakasu gemara per kamed de'mayit katan. Daf tes amid beis. The Talmud over there tells us in Moed Katan, page 9, second side. Hanach kula brichus aninu. Reb Shimon asked his son Rebbe Lazar to go to two great sages and ask them to bless him, and what they told him to him seemed like they were cursing him. So he says, "No, hanach kula brachus aninu. You're not paying attention. There's really blessings in all this. That the blessing was hidden. So if he didn't pay attention, he heard that they were cursing him. But his father says, no, you don't understand what they were saying. What they were saying deeply, what's being camouflaged in the curses. And sometimes, so the question is why? Why does something have to be camouflaged in curses? Sometimes you want to protect the blessing. So if the blessing would be said clearly, so there could be Kepedas, there could be voices of demanding that's not right. Why are you giving this person a blessing? Demanding, saying Esav and Yaakov should be equal. Haloi ach Esav li Yaakov. Why does Esav get a curse and Yaakov get a blessing? So it's camouflaged in a curse. So it protects the blessing. By Masha Shampir, he says the Masha says in the Gemara, which he was a commentary on the Talmud, the great Masha, they were kind of making riddles. But the Alter Rebbe says you don't have to go and say that you were talking in riddles. But specific, that it was all that there was or that it was a test or something. It's that like the simplicity of it, that in the curses, if you listen properly, is hidden there a blessing. So now that we know, so what did he establish until here? He hasn't explained what the blessing is. He explained that don't just listen to what you're hearing. And this applies to not just in this isolated situation, but in general in life. A lot of times what we see in front of us seems difficult or seems hard or seems like it's not a blessing, it's a curse. But because if you're able to pay attention deeply, you're going to see the blessing and the curse. And now he's going to go into the specifics of this verse, which is part of the curses. We need to do it to know. Torah is called bread. Just like a physical bread gives life to the person's body, the person's healthy and has energy, so too Torah gives life and energy to the soul. Even though, let's say in the example of physical bread with the person, how is it, and we've asked this question many times, how is it that the bread which is a tzamech is only things that grow, is what gives life to a person, or if the animals eat the grains, Chai Medaber, they take the vitality from the tzameach, the things that grow. So seemingly things that grow are less alive, are less of a creation, or lower level of more concealment within the chayas of their life than this person who speaks. So how could you take vitality off the vegetation? Seemingly it doesn't make sense. How could something that's higher, an animal's higher than vegetation, and a person's higher than animal and vegetation, so how could the person and the animal rely on vegetation, on semeach, when it's lower? And this is, we've learned this idea many times. The root of grains comes from a very high place. But because it was broken in the breaking of the vessels, it fell down. Like we learned many times, the further the further a stone falls, right, from the wall. So it says it fell down so low that it gives life to seemingly something that's less alive, like something like vegetation, but really hidden in there is this great light from the broken vessels. So too is in Torah itself. So just like in food, that physical food, the reason why vegetation gives life to the person or the animals is because in the vegetation is a hidden life force that comes from the broken vessels that's much higher than the source of the person. And therefore the person, although in this world, in the world of tikkun, in the world of fixing, takes that food and brings and elevates and focuses that energy. But this actual energy itself, the source of the energy comes from a higher place, and therefore the person lives off it. So too in spirituality. So too is the lechem, the bread for the soul, even though seemingly the soul is higher than Torah. But the Torah comes from also a higher place from the broken tablets, from the Shvir Saluchais. So too the Torah that's considered like bread and substance to the soul. It's the same idea. The hidden parts of the Torah that's not revealed in the mitzvahs. Means the outward part is the seemingly physical part and rationale of the law when we understand the laws. We don't understand the laws, but even when we understand the law, this is just the outward understanding of the law. But the soidus haTorah, there's great secrets in the laws of Torah. Is nishtalshel b'dvarim gashmi. It comes into physical laws. Iser v'heter, what is permitted, what's not permitted. Tuma, what's pure, what's tahara, what's impure, what's pure. V'chozev impnei. How did the Torah fall? So to say, where outwardly it seems to be just laws. We need to say if a person makes an observation, you have the spiritual soul and you have these laws. You touch this, you touch a dead animal, you're impure. You avoid touching a dead animal, you remain pure. It seems much less than the spirituality and the holiness, so to say, of the soul. But the truth is that the secrets of Torah also came in a falling situation wherein these laws are great spiritual lights, and therefore it gives substance to the soul. This all also fell down in the breaking. What does it mean? When Moshe broke the first tablets, up until that point, the Torah was protected in a very spiritual way. But when the tablets were broken, the energy of Torah fell into physical laws. Initially, Torah was totally beyond, free from the angel of death. With the people who were also free in the angel of death. And because the tablets broke, it came into physical, limited things of space in this world. As it says in the Likkutei Torah of the Arizal, he also had a publication called the Likkutei Torah. Parsha Sisa, Parsha Kisisa. Over there, the Arizal explains that just like we understand the idea of the breaking of the vessels, where the lights fall out of the vessels of containment and fall all the way down to the physical world, so too that's the idea of the breaking of the tablets. And now he explains, this is what the verse means in the yesod, in the foundation, that b'shivri lechem mata lechem, when, so to say, when was broken to you, the staff, the support of your bread of Torah, that it broke in this breaking of the tablets. Mata lechem u eitz hachaim. We know that what happened, that we have the eitz hachaim, we have the eitz hadas, we have the tree of life, and the tree of knowledge, good and bad. Torah was separate from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. What does it mean separate from the world of knowledge, tree and bad? The very fact that the Torah engages in what's permissible and what's prohibited, what's pure and what's impure, means the Torah lowered itself into the tree of knowledge, good and bad, because the Torah deals with questions of good and bad. So before then, that was the tree of life, the hidden, and when the tree of life was broken, that's the breaking of the tablets. The Torah fell into physical things. So that's what the Torah is saying. When the bread of Torah fell into physical space. So what does it mean for Afu Esanashim? Then 10 women have to bake the bread. So he's going to explain. Bish v'afu. Now what he's going to go into explain is so really over here is because Torah fell into physical space. So the which is the bread, we have to figure out a way to we can't engage in the Torah in its brokenness. Means the person says, well, if the Torah fell into broken space of this world, so I'm gonna perform the mitzvahs because that's what Torah is, but I'm gonna do it also in a broken way, in a dry way, and that's the idea. You have to offer. It's one, even though it fell into space, but specifically because that's how we're engaging in it now. It has to be with the same spirituality of the godliness before the broken of the tablet. And this is what he says over here. V'afu esenashim, pirsh v'afu. Torah nikr lechem chita. Torah is, like we said, the bread of wheat. Wheat is chaf beis oisis Torah, that in the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, it makes up the value of chita. Chita is also 9 and 8 and 5 is 22. Chita is ches is 8, tes is 9, and hey is 5 is 22. Vinyan. Just like if a person eats dough, it means you eat the bread, isa is dough. You eat the bread, but you didn't bake it. If a person eats bread, it doesn't properly digest and give the proper energy. The person says, what's the difference if I put it in the fire or not? All the ingredients are there, right? There's nothing changes from dough to bread besides the fire, the oven. The ingredients don't change. The same amount of salt, the same amount of yeast, the same amount of eggs, water, whatever else you put in the bread. That's all there. So why can't I just eat the dough? I'm not talking about what taste or if you enjoy it in concept. But when a person eats the dough, it doesn't properly digest. And you can't eat it in a way that's going to enhance in muscle, blood, etc. and chayas. But if a person is going to eat after it's been baked, so though the ingredients are the same, but now it changes. Then properly digested. Then comes part of your limbs, properly digested, and it gives energy, and it's healthy, etc. So it's just like everything's there. So just like the bread physically has to go into an oven, so too when it comes to the soul. Torah, you can't digest Torah as dough. You need to bake it. You need to bring in your passion. You can't just do the mitzvahs dry. Doing mitzvahs without any energy, without any chayas, without the passion of the fire of the oven. So then it's like eating dough. To connect to the life force of the challah, of the lechem, of Torah, it requires the eish. So too when it comes to spiritual food, which is Torah. Like we said before, what is the spiritual food of the soul? Is Torah. It's not baked properly by the person. I'm going to explain in a second what that means. You're right. You eat a lot of dough. You consumed a lot of actual Torah. It doesn't come one with you. Just like the dough doesn't come one before it comes bread. It's say separate. You've studied a lot of Torah. Not that you don't understand it. You could give a shiur, you could explain, You and Torah are separate. You don't become one. And the Torah is not giving you any vitality. Just like a person would eat unbaked bread, unbaked dough. When a person bakes the bread, then Torah becomes part of you. It has an effect. It's giving you life. And you and Torah become one. It's long and it's kept properly. If you properly bring it into all your 248 limbs, then it's shmura, then it's kept by you. But if it's separate, if it can't become part of you, because you didn't bake it, so then it's not going to be kept. What does it mean to bake the bread when it comes to Torah? Torah says, it's brought down about Torah. The Torah was given a black fire on top of a white fire. This is also explained to the idea of the Sefer Torah, of the white parchment and the black letters. The Ramaz in Moshe's Chut in Parshas Eikev says, there's the hidden wisdom of Torah with the beginning of the revealed wisdom of Torah. So what does the idea Eish Chayra mean? Eish Chayra means Eish Chayra Derech Yashis Chayshis Sistrei. He's hiding in the blackness. There's a hidden part of Torah. There's the Sasam. There's the hidden black fire in Torah. That's the hidden message, the hidden energy of Torah. Now he explains. It's the Eish, the fire, that's hidden within every Jewish person. Here the Rebbe is going to say that the Eish, like this, the Eish is, every person has a fire. This is given to us. It's given to us a fire as a person. We have the fire. We have to reveal the fire. When we connect the Torah, we have to reveal the hidden fire that's in us. The pilot's lit. You know, what we were talking about in our halacha class or the shmuz, I forget, about the ovens that have the pilot lit. The pilot's lit. But you have to turn up the flame. That's not going to cook anything if you don't turn on the flame. So the Eish Chayri, Eish Mushateres B'Leiv Kol Echad V'Echad Yisrael. The fire is in every single Jewish person. What's that fire mean? Ba'ava, love, tshuka, desire, the dafka ba'yisbarach to cleave to God, to become one with God. Sha'af, what does that mean? The sha'af, although you have all these obstacles in your life, sha'af shu tarid ba'asaku v'hagashmi, although a person's so preoccupied in their engagement of the physicality, whether it's making a living, all the things that preoccupy our minds and our attention. But nevertheless, ki liboy boyer tamid lavas Hashem, you have to know the pilot is always there. Your heart is always burning to be connected to Hashem. Your heart is crying out towards God. The heart is constantly crying out in a hidden way. You may not hear the cry of your heart to cleave and to connect to Hashem. This is what the Shlomo Melech says, you were sick with love for Hashem. A person says, "Support me in these cushions of apple breads." I'm sick with love for God. This is what it means. I may feel like I'm asleep, but my heart's alive and on fire. And so you have the flame. The lechem is Torah. The dough is the Torah. You have the pilot. You've got to turn it on. You need to turn on the flame to bake it. You have all the tools. It's not like you say, where's the oven? You have the oven's inside of you. And in this hidden love, that's burning, that's a fire that comes from God, that's cleaving constantly towards God. That's the oven that's inside of you. You have the oven. You have everything there. You must turn it. You must connect it. You have to turn it into an oven. Turn on the flame. Lechem chita, to burn, to bake the bread. Shehit Torah. And when you connect, so to say, bake the Torah in the love, the fire of the passion you have for Hashem. Then when you study the Torah and do the mitzvahs, then it becomes like when you eat bread, it becomes part of you. That you bake the bread in one single oven. What does it mean in one oven? the word echad means in the Shem Echad, when we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, is this realization of the oneness of God in all creation, that fire that's built on, the echad, on the oneness of Hashem, that's the place of your oven, that's the place that you could cook and become one with Torah, the tefillah, the prayers that you daven and awaken that love. So that's why after davening we go to learn. What's it mean? After the Beis HaKnesses we go to the Beis Medrash. Because you turn the oven on. It's like a person who turns on the oven and then walks away. Why did you turn on the oven if you're not going to bake anything in it? You turn on the oven because afterwards when you learn the Torah becomes one with you. That's what we go. Beis HaKnesses, the Beis HaMedrash. You have a shir after we daven. The passion and excitement you got from contemplating about the oneness of God. So that's the lechem. That's the oven. What are the 10 women cooking in a single oven? So Inyan Eser Nashim, what are the 10 women cooking in a single oven? There's 10 different parts of each one of us, right? Everyone's broken up into the 10 spheros, the 10 character traits, 3 intellectual and 7 emotional spheros. Shalish Imayis, the 3 mothers of Sheva Kfulas and the doubles. Why are they called double? Because, for instance, Chesed is kindness, and its extension is Netzach. Gvura is severity, its extension is Hod, etc. So Shalish Imayis v'Sheva Kfulas. Ubasar Dvarim Elu Yiyafia, and those on all your components. What does it mean, Eser Nashim? There shouldn't be any part of your character, whether it's intellectual or emotional, that's not involved and affected by the baking of the bread. And why is it so? Why are they called 10 women? They should be called 10 peoples. Why specifically women? Because you have to know, and in this case, you are a receptacle, the nukuva, you're the female, the receptacle to the aish, to the fire. A person must know, this fire that you have, this goodness that you have, he calls it the toiv. This desire you have to cleave to God, you didn't make it. You don't own that fire. That fire is given you. The master of truth gave you this truth. What does it mean, this truth? The voed, the consistent. What's emes? Emes is the voed, the consistency, the for everlastingness of this fire that's within you. You didn't earn it, you didn't create it, you didn't make the fire. It was nashim. You were a receiver of that fire. But that's why it says, this is what it says in Tanya. He quotes the idea that's brought down that a person should always view themselves that they're potentially for bad. Kirash, you're like a Russia. Like the Alter Rebbe says, not loy Russia mamish, you're not a Russia. But you can be a Russia. I feel even if you learn and daven all the time, you still have to understand your vulnerabilities, that you're possible to become a Russia. Like he says, that the bad is yours. If you choose to be bad, that's going to be on you. The good is a gift to you from God. That's why it's called the flame of Yudke, the first 2 letters of God's name. Where do you get that fire to love God? It's given to you from the first 2 letters of God's name. And when you're ready to be receptacle of it and to acknowledge that you were gifted this fire, and therefore you're able to make the bread, and able to engage all the 10 parts of your character. Don't think you're something on your own. And that's one of the conditions to become. That's why it says the 10 women you have to be a makabel. Know that the fire itself is not yours. The pilot is not yours. Yes, bad things, if you choose, that's on you. But the good things, those are given to you. But if you properly walk into the bakery within your life and realize that the oven and the fire is given to you, the Torah is something that was given to you, but you have the ability to turn on the flame. That's your choice. Then you're able to return the bread in its weight. Again, all this in the negative is a curse. So really, we have to think after the class, everyone, because the curse, when you have this idea that the sasim and galia, that is revealed and hidden, they can't be 2 separate things that have no connection. That when I open up the book and I read the Rashi and he says that my support for life is going to be broken, and I'm going to have to 10 women, I'm going to have to cook in a single oven. This is a sign of poverty, and the bread falls apart. It's a sign of despair. Even after all that effort, and I found an oven and I baked the bread and I made it happen. That I can't even. It doesn't yield any results. It's broken pieces of bread that all we could divide is its weight, because we can't divide any substance. So you have to apply that all backwards. That there's the flip side of the spirituality is that dependency on things that are worldly, and how that could fall apart, and how that doesn't end up yielding positive. So he says, but in this case, what's that you return the bread on its weight. When a person properly bakes the bread, meaning to say you turn on the pilot, turn on the oven, and you engage all the 10 components of your character, both intellectual and both emotional, and you have the humility to understand that the fire is not yours, you're makabel, and your level of gratitude and bittul to the ability to connect to Torah. So mimatza, what is Pirush? Now, when you bake the bread, mimata l'mayla, in your efforts of turning on the oven, because the pilot was given to you, but the oven you did turn on, is v'chinas mishkal, k'meshakasav v'shekel v'pelis. That is like a weight harim. That when you v'shekel v'pelis, when you there's the idea of shekel v'pelis harim means in Sibrat Chassidus, like an old chain weights, right? So the more you pull something down, the more the mishkal goes down, the more it elevates the other side, right? If you have a pound weight on one side of the chain and you put in a half a pound of a substance on the other side, so the weight pushes down and brings up the other side. So v'shekel v'pelis harim, it picks it up. That even brings up higher than its elevation. Shabai shekel harim v'nikim maskela b'zohar, a weight in the heaven, in the Zohar. Meaning to say that the return is going to be b'mishka, like a weight could bring something higher than it was if you have it equal, right? When the scales are equal, right and left. So then if both sides are equal and you put it in a weight bottom, that's your efforts. So it lifts it up higher than it was initially. So by putting in these efforts of turning on your flame and turning on your pilot and turning on your oven and baking it and engaging in the right mindset, then his shekel pelis harim lifts it up higher than where it was even initially. So again, in the verse, so what happens in the curse? So the fourth stage that we didn't speak about yet is that even after you have no support, your support is broken. You have to bake in a single oven, and you don't even take out a piece of bread. You take out just the broken. It only has a weight value. So then the curse continues. You're going to eat, and you're still not going to be full. You're going to eat whatever you took out of the oven. You're not going to be satisfied. What's the blessing in this? Came like a person who's never satisfied with money. Yeah, everything. The more you make, the more you want. So too, in a positive way, when a person's love for God never gets satisfied. And when a person's not satisfied, when you reach satisfaction in your journey in life, so it gets stale to you to continue. You don't continue to pursue it. You feel like you've owned that moment and you move on. But when you're not satisfied, you keep on going back because you didn't find satisfaction. And not only that, the blessing is so much so, not only that you're a little satisfied, but you didn't get the full satisfaction. It should be so unsatisfying that every single time you engage in the service of God is as if it's new. Your soul never gets satisfied. Don't be ashamed that your mother has aged. There is no age here. Age is to accept something. Youth is this energy. You're not accepting it. You're staying alive and fresh in engagement. It says, don't be tired and aged with your service of God. Like it says, is there age by God? God doesn't get old. He's beyond time. So you don't get old with God. Don't let your relationship get old with God, because God doesn't get old. He's fresh and young and energetic. You be fresh, young, and energetic in your service of God. But if you don't have all these components of turning on your fire, but you're studying the Torah, you're doing the mitzvahs, but it's dry. It's like a person who is engaging in a piece of dough. The Torah doesn't give you life. It's not, if you're going to be an acher, you're not going to give your premius, you're not going to give your full energy, your full focus on that, then it's not going to God's not going to give this, the relationship's not going to have, it's not going to be a two-sided relationship, it's not going to become part of who you are. So again, this is a very beautiful mimer. I believe we did learn it before. I want to wish everyone Laila Tov. Shireen, you wanted to ask a question? You're on mute. You're still on mute.
You. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
What do you want to ask?
yeah, I'm here. Can you hear? I'm
Yeah,
here.
yes.
Okay. Like, say, okay, you're trying to follow all the laws to your best ability, right? But there's somebody, okay, that keeps trying to mess and they're doing mean things, they're doing and saying mean things, and that's not true. And they're trying, and you have been also ever nice to them. You have tried to help them, and they know better. They know the law. They grew up with the law, but they continue to do bad things, not only to you but to other people. And and you forgave them so many times, right? But it's to a point, right? You just feel like, okay, maybe I just have to just stay away from this person. But you just keep praying that they change their ways, but they don't want to change their ways, and they're like, say, okay, they one way, like in front of, like in the community, but then they're another way in front of the Gentiles, and and then they do all these mean things to you, and they say mean things about you, but you keep forgiving them. But then it's like, okay, do I not forgive this person? Do I not? You don't trust them anymore. It comes to a point you just don't trust them, but you just feel like it's not right of what they did to you, but also to other people and even to family members and stuff. It's just not right.
Yeah, like I think we've talked about this in the schmooze once or twice, but I hear what you're saying, and yeah, like I said to you in other times, if you're in such a situation and it's an unhealthy relationship, it's obviously not to get into any details right now, but it's obviously something you have to move on and away from. There's no obligation to stay in a place that is bad energy, but you stay focus on the positive things and build on that better. Again, not going into any details right now, but I hear what you're saying, and it's unfortunate. I hope that goes away, God willing. Lila Tov, everyone. Take care, and thank you for joining.